Hi guys, thanks for stopping by. So, yesterday at our club we ran a test and tune day. If you're not too sure on what that is, basically it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not racing, it's literally just going out, trying different setups, tyre combinations, whatever you want. So you don't have the pressure of going out, doing your 5-minute qualifying and the car not being great. Try something new, makes it worse, and it's a handful to drive. You either just pull the car off the side of the track or just adapt your driving, and obviously you're not going to do as well. So a test and tune day is pretty good. If your clubs don't have permanent facilities, our club, we don't have a permanent indoor facility. We've got to get there in the morning, set the track up, race, pack up, go home. So we ran this on a Saturday. It was put out there who wanted to come. I had quite a few people turn up, and one of the club members actually got a guy down. I can't remember his name. I think it was Stu Wood. So big thanks to Stu for coming down. He's like a top driver, so he knows all about car setup, driving, ESC setup, anything like that. And basically it was one-to-one with him as well. So all he asked you was, what do you want from the day? So for me, the Cougar that I've got, it goes pretty well, but it just needed a little something, and I didn't know what it was, what it needed. So he basically gets you to drive round, he watches your car, and then he'll go through everything and help you make setup changes. So you'll go off, make your setup changes, and then you just come back, and then he'll watch, see what the car's doing, see what you're doing, and then if there's any further improvements, he'll give you those further improvements. It's also a good time to try out cars that you've not driven before. So the big one for me, really wanted to get the Genova out, so borrowed some wheels and tyres. Obviously we're in carpet, so got some carpet tyres off one of the lads that races modern. Obviously the benefit with this is you've got 12mm hexes front and rear, so your modern wheels go on. Only issue is the electrics in this I've pinched out of a car that I run in the wet. I've got a Cougar that I run when it's wet, if it's really horrible. It's a car that I don't really sort of like worry too much about. The ESC's got an issue where it sort of stutters, and I just assumed it would be the sensor lead, so I put the electrics in, fitted a new sensor lead. It was the first time I got to run it yesterday, and that issue's still there. But I gave it a few laps, and to be honest, how it's set up now, it wouldn't need a great deal of changing to get it to be a good little car on the carpet. But the big plan for this is, once we head back outdoors, is to see how it fares against the modern cars basically. So the only thing that's going to get changed initially, other than the tyres, is going to be the shocks. So I think you can get the aftermarket shocks for these, but everything seems to be dead expensive for this G-Force. So I'll be going for some Schumacher big bores. I've got the full spring kit, so I can do all the changes, and then yeah, see how it goes when we go back outdoors. That's not going to be until about April next year, so we're still a fair bit off that yet. The other car that I wanted to drive was the Ninja. It was the very first car I ever had, so I had to get another one of these. Got a body shell from Penguin and sprayed it up in the colours that I used to run back in the day, as most of my cars have been sprayed up. It went all right. Only issue is the steering's not set quite right, so I thought it was all fine, but it doesn't want to turn left. I've got hardly any steering to the left, so I'm going to have to take all the front end off again, check everything, measure everything, and then yeah, we'll get this back out on track properly soon. Gizmo, as it's affectionately known, the little Grasshopper Black Edition. It's an absolute hoot to drive. I love driving this thing. You can pretty much just hold it flat throughout the track. It's not going to set any lap records or anything. I've got a GT tuned motor in it, I think. It came with another car that I got. I think it was the Super Hot Shot. That came with one of these motors, and then I put a BZ in the Super Hot Shot, so I thought, well, I know the ideal place for that motor to go. We had snow yesterday, gave it a little blast out in the snow. It's the only car I could really do because it's the only one that I've got that had decent spike tyres, but the snow was just too soft. The car was just bottoming out, just sitting there spinning. So, but we gave her a little blast around the track. So the two cars that didn't get run, unfortunately, I was hoping to get some footage of them. We'll go back to those, we'll address the issues, get them back out on track. So the Cougar, obviously, like I say, I've got the Euromasters, so I need to try and get a good carpet set up on it. I think it's there. It's now just held back by my driving skills. I am not the best driver in the world. I'm not consistent. That is my big issue. You get a lot of drivers, they can just consistently go around lap after lap. They may not be the fastest. You'll have drivers at some vintage meetings, Jamie Boo for instance, they will go around lap after lap consistently fast. If you've got someone that goes around consistent, they're not the fastest, they're still going to do pretty well, because someone like me, I can have 1 or 2 fast laps and then I'll have 5 where it's an absolute nightmare and the marshals are getting plenty of exercise picking my car up. So there's not a lot you can do to help with that. Overall, the car, change wise, the only change that I'll be making to the car is getting rid of a little bit of the rear towing. I've reduced it slightly. I think I've got 1.6mm shims in the back, so I'm probably going to take it to just 1mm towing on the back, and then that's it. The tyres took a good hammering because you're on the track all day, so there's not a lot of tread left on these tyres, so I'm going to have to buy a new set of tyres. I'm going to have to get those pretty soon as well, because I'm off to Potteries racetrack on the 29th of December, so I'll be doing a club video there, get some running footage. They've got modern 2 and 4-wheel drive, and they're also doing a vintage heat or a couple of vintage heats, so hopefully there should be some good racing going on there, and it'll be a good test to see how this car goes and how it's going to fare at the Euromasters, which is, like I say, that's in end of February next year. So if you've not seen anything about the Euromasters, if you get on Facebook, search for Euromasters, I'll try and put a link in. Everyone that knows me knows I am a computer idiot, and that's one of the first ones. There's quite a lot of vintage races next year as well. So you've got the Euromasters, beginning of July I believe you've got the Lakeland Classic, end of July you've got the first revival, and then I think it was sometime in September you've got the second revival, which is being held in Oswestry. I hope I've said that right. So that's going to be on grass. So the Lakeland Classic, that's a grass track, my local track, so yes, I do love it. We do have a big field, so our straight, you need a fast car, because if you haven't got a lot of boost turbo added, you're going to be hitting that straight, and halfway along your car's going to be maxed out. So nice long straight, you can fairly get some speed up that straight. So like I say, most of the changes were not done to the car. So what did he do? Surprisingly, and it's one thing I've never really looked at, most of my changes were made on my controller. The biggest issue I've got, I haven't got the most flexible thumbs, usable thumbs. So for me to come and brake, I struggle with the modulation. So I can go all the way down, going up's fine on the throttle, but getting just a little bit of brake coming into the corner, if you only want a little bit, I struggle with that. So he's basically set, or told me to set my end point for the brake all the way down, and I think I got down to about 35%, and coming down the straight I could literally just pull it all the way back and the car would brake nicely going into the corner. And probably the first time ever I've been hitting apexes. Slowed the car down on the, I think it was called exponential on the throttle. So rather than the throttle going up as you look at the graph, it just goes up like that, it actually curves it round. So it sort of slows down that initial acceleration of the car just ever so slightly. Little things like that, little tweaks and changes made a big difference, because he said the biggest issue I had at the moment was that any little bit of throttle, the front end's coming light, and then obviously you're losing your steering. So coming out of corners, trying to get on the power, the front end's wanting to lift, you're losing your steering. So just by getting rid of that initial urge, wanting it to pop up the front, massive help. And yeah, I've got my battery in this set down the center. I'm going to move it to the front so the battery weight's right at the front. That was the only other thing that he said, sorry. But yeah, other than that, cracking day. So if your local club doesn't have a permanent indoor facility, if a few of you just go to your club secretary, whoever it is that's like the most, well, the person you speak to most in the club's probably the best way, and just mention it, saying, is there any chance we could have one? No harm in asking, and chances are they're going to look at it. Obviously it's going to cost you, if it's like our club, you've got to pay for the hire of the facility, so they'll work out what it's going to cost, what day people want to do, how many hours. So ours was from 9 till 2, so plenty of time to get some track time. But yeah, if your local club doesn't have a permanent facility, ask them. Even if you're happy with your driving, you can just go out there, you can drive around for 10 minutes constant and just get used to the car. It's just practice, it's just track time. That is one of the big things. I watched one of the videos from Pop Along RC. They were on exactly the same thing. The hardest thing to get is track time. If you don't have a permanent facility and you go racing, you'll have 3 or 4 heats and a final. So you've got 20 minutes and then a 5-minute final. In that 20 minutes, you've got to get your car going as good as you can, but you've also got to hone and improve your driving. So yeah, if your club doesn't do one, ask them. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But that's it. So I was supposed to be at Ulverston today. I got the dates wrong. They're not actually on today, they're on next Sunday. So I'm going to be doing a club video for Ulverston. Don't know if I'm going to race. I probably will. I'm going to try and race, but it's generally easier if you're not racing to just concentrate on the filming. I've tried it where I'm racing and it's a little bit tricky, like our test day yesterday, because you're doing changes to the car, chatting to people that you don't see for a while. Obviously Christmas is coming. But yeah, so didn't get as much filming done yesterday on the track, but I got a little bit and I'll stick some of it on the end. The main one was the race at the end. So basically it was just the cars that you were running that day, getting used to. Stu basically set up a race where it was unmarshalled. So how does that work? It's basically you could be the last car, set it off on the grid, everyone lands up on the wheels, can't be marshalled, you're going to win. So it was just a bit of a fun race. It was good to watch. I didn't race in that because I wanted to film that. I wanted to watch my car on the track, just see what it's like. So I lent it to another club member. He did all right with it. He's a big Schumacher fan, so he was really chuffed to be able to drive my car. So cheers for that, Dan, if you're watching. Hope you are, and prove you are. So leave something in the comment below. And any of you watching this, you're not subscribed, subscribe, doesn't cost you anything. Just click that button and then you'll be able to see all my lovely videos that are going to be coming up next year. Like I say, next year, big for the vintage racing. So there'll be more vintage cars, a couple of builds, hopefully. I'm just trying to work out what I can build, what I need. But yeah, give us a comment, let us know what you think. Cheers, guys.
2, 5, 6, 8, 11, 1, 7, 3, 4, 5, 9.
So on this race, no marshalling, and if you cannot drive, you are out of the race. So this is obviously just a bit of a fun race at the end of the day. So if you crash and you're on your wheels, you're out. There's one out. So obviously you could take this two ways. You could either go flat out, go for the win, or slow and steady. Oh, hung up. Oh, if he gets a little tap, he'll be back on his way. Oh. Oh, two more out.
Two more cars again. It's dropping
So obviously I'm not driving my Cougar. I've lent that to a good mate of mine, Daniel Troughton. Look at it. It's another one over.